Welcome to episode 3 of Women of Color and Confidence. I am your host, Amber Rose West. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am joined by Alexis Watts, who is the marketing director for the Town Center of Aurora. She's also a commissioner with the Cultural and Scientific Commission of Parker. And today we are going to be talking about prioritizing culturally diverse art in our communities. So hello, Alexis. Welcome to the show. I'm so happy to have you here.
Yes, thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. So before we jump into it, do you want to take a beat and just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So again, my name's Alexis, born and raised in Cincinnati, Ohio. Lived in Albuquerque for about 4 years, now here in Parker, Colorado. Really enjoy what I do, marketing at Town Center at Aurora, and then also love being the commissioner and advocate for businesses here in Parker.
That is so wonderful. How long have you been in Colorado?
Just a little bit over a year. Moved here June of 2019 and have been truly enjoying it. It's very beautiful here, loving the people.
And you moved here from New Mexico?
Correct, from New Mexico, that's correct.
Awesome. So when you got here in June, you were ready for that heat.
Yes, definitely.
That is so wonderful. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about, we talked a lot about, of course, like art and growing up and building confidence. And I kind of wanted to start our chat with how you developed your confidence growing up as a Black woman. Can you share with us a little bit about what that was like for you?
Yeah. So my mom was a single mother, and she really worked her way up the ladder herself, and really gave me a great life and showed me if you work hard, you'll get there no matter what. Even if there's obstacles, there's just ways to go ahead and go around it. And I learned from her, watched her, and I said, I want to be like my mom when I grow up. And that's really where it came from, is just having that person to push you and tell you even when you're younger, hey, you can get those A's and those B's. Hey, you can go to college. Hey, you can do this and do that. And having her and listening to that growing up and having that support system has helped me become the woman that I am today. So yeah.
Wonderful. That's awesome. And I love when we were chatting earlier, you were telling me about how, a lot of your career has taken you through climbing certain ladders and getting to the top of the departments that you were in. What was it like working in those departments, and were there other Black people around you when you were in those departments? And can you talk a little bit about, I guess, the diversity of the jobs themselves and then who you were working with?
Yeah. I grew up I would say a diverse school. I had a mixture of friends of all races and backgrounds, but it didn't really happen until I got into the actual workforce, where I realized that it's not as diverse depending on what industry you're going into, what part of the city you're in, a little bit of everything.
Mm-hmm.
So it felt like it was hard sometimes to be, either taken seriously or, building that trust with them. They'll show hey, I can do it. And sometimes awkwardness being the only one.
Yeah.
Including what's happening in the world, even today or maybe 5 years ago, that awkwardness. But the only job I would say that I had some diversity was definitely in Albuquerque, because you had the Hispanics, you had Native Americans, and they, I was actually a minority in New Mexico, and it was beautiful to be around them and just to feel welcomed. And I feel like I grew a lot more in Albuquerque. I got to learn more about them, and it really helped me develop more of the communication skills, or how to work with others even more, of different backgrounds. Because if you don't know, you don't know unless you ask and you experience it with them. I truly enjoyed Albuquerque, and then coming to Colorado, it was a culture shock again, because going to Cincinnati, and then you live in Albuquerque, and then boom, you're in Colorado.
Yeah.
And I'm like, And it was a little lonely in my first role because I was a regional marketing specialist. So it was really just me on my own, having, 44 offices. I didn't really get a chance to really build those relationships with people. But then definitely in this role, I'm also the only one. So, and that's okay. I love it. I think they, I feel very welcomed and appreciated by them. And I have more confidence in this role because it's like, Alexis, you've made it through the roles that you didn't have the support, the confidence, where you're scared, like, oh my gosh, I'm the only one. And now it's like, no, I belong here. I've earned this role. I can do it. And I feel so much better now. And I've been waiting for this time for like ever to feel this great. Yeah.
That's so awesome.
Thanks.
And it's so beautiful to think that like now that you've actually done it for a little bit of time, that you can, really sink into what it feels like to feel good about the accomplishments that you have, right? Instead of doubting yourself, instead of thinking like, oh, I have so much more to do or learn and so many roads to walk before I can really enjoy the fact that I have had success in my life and that things are going really well. And it's okay to say that and to like really be in it, That's
Definitely.
so awesome. So I want to talk for a second about being Black in Colorado.
Okay.
Because I also live in Colorado. I'm currently in Denver right now, and I know that it's definitely been one of those things that, the more Black women that I've spoken to, I felt like it was very much a thing prior to BLM coming to the city. Like kind of feeling like that, like when you're walking around and you do look around and feel like you're the only Black person in sight for miles, or you go into, a bar or a restaurant and you really are the only person of color there, and you're like, wow, this place is majority white, and I wasn't really expecting that. I didn't know that. So how was your transition into the city and specifically into Parker, because that's where you live?
It was different. So just a little background of why we chose Parker. I think that's a big thing, because that's probably one of the number one question I get is, why did you move to Parker? Like, why Parker? Well, the company I used to work for, the apartments, like they managed our apartment. I was like, and I feel safe with them. And I said, this is a great town. It seems like quiet. I didn't really want to live in the city again. After living in Cincinnati, I wanted to just, go to work in a busy area, but then come home and just feel relaxed. That was the main reason. When I first got here, again, like I said, culture shock, because when you lived in New Mexico for 4 years, you're looking at, a whole different set of diversity, of what's going on. So we moved here. My husband actually went to Abu Dhabi right 2 months later. So I didn't know anybody. And I personally, when I first got here, loved it. I met so many people through the chamber. I grew really, great relationships at the restaurants. I love the restaurants here. I love to eat here. The business owners are completely amazing, right? It was perfect. And then COVID hit, and Black Lives Matter protests and, started happening, and people started showing their true colors. And I started feeling uncomfortable. I have a lot of these people on my Facebook, and, I trust them as like, for other businesses and friends. And I'm like, oh, that's what they think. Oh, okay. I'm uncomfortable. And it definitely, it's sad that have to happen, but it's good that it happens too, when the true colors come out. But at the end of the day, it's been a great town to live in. It's beautiful. I'm sure you saw it's #2 best place to live in the country.
I did see that today.
Yeah, so many great things to do. I think what really touched me too was when there was a Black Lives Matter protest in Parker. And I cried because I was like, there's no way this is happening in this town. And it proves that not everyone is who you think they are. There are amazing and great people on this earth who care about you, no matter what you look like, no matter who you are. And there's a good amount of people, and there's not that many, Black people in Parker. So to see that many, white people or, come together and care just felt so amazing. And, I think things happen, you get to meet people. it all came out, but you know what? I don't have any hard feelings towards it. This is the town that I actually really love and enjoy living in. I think it has a lot of perks to it, more than cons. And again, it's just more building those relationships with those people and really talking to them and being open with them and explaining, this is who I am, this is who my husband is, this is where we come from, this is why we feel like our lives matter. You know,
Yeah.
kind of again having that relationship and speaking and being and communicating with them, because some people just don't understand. They've never been in those situations before. They don't understand. Their kids don't understand. I've had a friend who invited me over to her house to have dinner with her kids and herself, and she said, "Can you explain to us what's happening and why this is bad?" And that's the good part, is that I've met great people who are wanting to learn and understand and want the diversity here. And I think that's beautiful.
That's so wonderful. So
Yeah.
are you feeling, you're saying you're feeling a little bit separated from the town when COVID started and when BLM started, they kind of started around the same time.
Yeah.
Are you feeling like through those conversations, are you feeling better? Are you feeling differently than you did when they first began?
Um, I feel more comfortable now that those conversations are being had. I've joined a few groups. I've met a few people who are wanting to learn and wanting to be allies. And I talk about it, but I don't always talk about it. If you look at my Facebook, it's more like, oh, hey, this is what's going on in the community. Hey, I'm supporting this business. And to me, it's like, I'm not your educator, but I'm your friend who, if you would like to know anything, you can ask me. I don't approach anyone. It's more like, I'm definitely open to speak about it. And I think having people who are open to listen is great. And that's how it's going to make the town or the cities or the states, the country better, is that we're all communicating with each other and learning about each other. If you don't learn, you're never going to know.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I agree with that. So let's talk about how you got into marketing. How did you find that field and get started in it?
Yeah. I actually don't, like, I know my story of how I wanted to go to school for marketing, but then again, like, I kind of don't. It's like, what made me think of like marketing? I think for a moment I was wanting to be like a journalist. I wanted to be on TV, and my senior year I had like my own little TV show with my best friend, and I was like, this is what I'm gonna do. And I was like, that's not what I'm gonna do. And I found marketing, and I saw how like wide the field was. And I just knew like, okay, this is a good option for me. I can still plan events. I like social media. I like to interact with people. And in college, it was great. I got my associates. I did not like school. I still don't like school. I like to self-educate myself when it comes to marketing now. Like, that's how I've kept up on everything. It's like I self-educate. I'm constantly learning something new. I learned what I needed to in school, but marketing changes every day, including with social media, that whatever you learn in school 5 years ago is not there anymore,
Yeah.
really. Um, and I knew no matter what, I wanted to work with an organization that is community based. Like, you are giving back to this community. We are planning this for this community. You're giving back. You are making a change in the world. And I knew I wanted to do that with someone. I didn't know who, where, what it is, but that's how I got into it. So yeah.
Awesome. So how did you find the town center of Aurora? And what was it? Did you just apply to a job?
Yeah, so I actually knew the team because at my previous position, I used to work with dentists, and one of the new dentists, Dr. Shelby Tesser, she has a dental office in Aurora dentist office in orthodontics, and I was like, okay, like, you're opening up your office, you have to get out there, like, you have to present yourself, you have to meet people, like, they have to trust you in order to come to your office. So Town Center Aurora throws all these events, and I said, this is perfect for you. Like, go out and meet your community. And we did, and that's how I met them. And I saw the energy in there. I felt it. I felt the connection, and saw the faces of people who were just walking up to us, happy that we're here. And I had started my own business during COVID. But I said, this is not going to last long. Like, I'm going to have to make some more money. Like, this is not going to last. It's just too early. There's COVID. I don't know how it's going to last. So I applied, and I had my interview, and I felt good. And next thing I know, I got a call the next day. we want you, but you had to go through all these other interviews. And literally in a week and a half, like I'm there. And I said, I can start whenever. Like I've been sitting at home. And I knew something told me like literally a week before I got hired, or before my interview, I knew it was like, Alexis, you need to go somewhere that you can give back to. You need to go somewhere that you can be part of the community. And then for that to happen was like mind blowing, like the perfect position. So yeah.
That's awesome. So tell us a little bit about what it's like to be the marketing director for the Town Center of Aurora.
It's a little crazy, just a little bit. When I say crazy, it just means it's busy.
Mm-hmm.
However, I love it. I wake up early in the morning. I've never woken up so early for a job before in my life, and I just love going to work. Like, I don't have, you can have bad moments, but not bad days there. You just feel good, and the team I have there is amazing. I just enjoy just going in, and like today I had the mobile pet clinic with Aurora, City of Aurora and Friends League, having them come, you know, I'm dealing with that, getting them set up. I had the media coming, dealing with that. I had, you know, a call with other Denver marketers at a round table. I had someone who wants me to be their mentor, so she interviewed me. So it's a little bit of everything, going through budgets, but it's like, it's fun. And it's like, I have all these events coming up and I'm like, I'm ready, let's do it. So yeah.
We were talking a little bit about the cultural arts events that are happening there. Is it every month?
Yes, it's every month until December. It's sponsored by Visit Aurora. They were very generous enough to sponsor the event, and so was City of Aurora, their Immigration and International Office, sponsoring the performers. And it is one of the most beautiful events, like just not planning, just attending. Because I think, you know, again, after I've heard of these things, I've heard of these performers, I've heard of it, see it on TV, but see it in person. And after living in Albuquerque and seeing like their culture, it brought up more for me. It's like, I want to see more of different cultures. So we celebrated Mexico and Central America this month. We have Asia in October, South America in November, and Africa in December. And it's like building up that, you know, suspense. It's like, okay, we're going to have this food, and City of Aurora sent us the performer list. And I'm just like, yes, let's do it. But it's amazing.
Can you walk us through a little bit of what each event like entails?
Yeah. So pretty much they come in, we got these beautiful big balloon arches, and the arches are the colors of like a certain country or whatever, and they can walk through. And then we have a drink from each whatever region it is. So for September we had like Cuban coffee, like shots of it, because obviously it's strong, just take one. But then we had 2 food vendors. So you can try some food from the different regions. I had you know, a Mexican food vendor who had tamales, and one from Puerto Rico who had Puerto Rican dishes, and she had her souvenirs to sell. And then you walk through and you can visit the resources. So we had the Green Latinos there. We had Census there, Visit Aurora, City of Aurora. We had one of our vendors, she's actually one of our tenants, and it's like sells hair products and makeup, and she's Latino, and we want to make sure she was included. And then we had Aurora dentist office there also. And then you go through again, and then you have the performers, you have the stage, and the most beautiful performers. And the ballet was just amazing and just energized, and just the music, it's beautiful. And then you walk through and you have an art showcase. So you have artists, you know, a live canvas artist, and you have those who are showing off like, you know, their art that they've created, and they're also painting. And then you have the kids area, so the kids can color whatever thing we get that month, and a balloon twister to keep the kids entertained. But the whole mall is just lit up, and it's beautiful to see. Even during COVID, you know, we can even have this with the guidelines. It's such a blessing we can actually still have this event, because we want people to enjoy it even though COVID's happening. So while they're shopping, they can stop, they can listen in, and you can just hear the music throughout the mall. But it's just bringing that culture there and saying, guess what, you're welcomed here. You don't have to feel uncomfortable. We're not following you around the mall, making sure you're not stealing anything. We want you to feel like this is your home, you're welcome, and we're going to celebrate you every day.
Yeah. That's been really beautiful. It sounds like there's art, but there's also dancing and food and
Mhm.
music, which is all also art, but
Yeah.
a way to kind of bring it all together into one space so you can see the different types of art styles from different cultures. What's the feedback that you've been getting on these events?
People are just excited. As soon as they walk, they're like, what's happening? Oh my gosh, you're really doing this?
Mhm.
And then just to have people who are from those regions who are wanting to be involved, like they're excited. And I had our live canvas artist, Victor, his family's from Guatemala and he wanted to represent his family. And like just hearing that, like, oh my gosh, you're actually doing that. Or wow, we want to learn this, we want to learn more, we want to see it. And people excited for next month, like, oh my gosh, come next month, it's going to be Asia, like it's going to be just as exciting, and getting people pumped up ready for the next one, but really enjoying the current one and seeing people dancing and singing, like, wow, like this is a great event. I actually had someone email me like, hey, great event, like who are the food vendors, I want to support them even more. So
Yes.
it's great, people are still thinking about it.
Yes. And so I loved how you were saying that, like, especially now with everything with Elijah McClain that's happening in Aurora, I know that there's a lot of, like, not necessarily even from Colorado, but people like seeing and hearing, Colorado, they think that there's a lot of things going on there that may be negative. And this is so beautiful to see something that's happening that is positive and it's inclusive. Um, and I remember you were telling me that you wanted to help change the perception of Colorado through this inclusion of other cultures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that it's needed. And it might just come from, again, living somewhere else where there was nothing but that culture. There was, I think here we're hustling, we're bustling, we're just everywhere. We don't have time to think about, wow, let me learn about this person. Wow, let me go see this or do that. And look at the beauty. Just slow down and look and learn. And I think it could be a beautiful thing to have more of it in Colorado.
Yeah, me too.
Mhm.
Let's talk about, is it the Science and Arts Commission?
Yes, cultural and scientific commission. Yeah.
Culture and Scientific Commission. Thank you. How did you find your way to be a commissioner with them?
Yeah. One of the Facebook pages in Parker had posted that there was some openings, and I was like, oh my gosh, that would be so cool. Like to be more involved in my community. Like no matter where I live, I want to be involved somehow. And I saw that position open, interviewed and in front of the board, like was freaking out, like, oh my gosh, like it's not a job, it's a volunteer position, but it still meant a lot to me, to be a part of it. And really explaining to them who I am, where I come from, why I love this town, and how I want to help this town.
Mm-hmm.
And the biggest thing when I moved here was, the town has grown so much. Even since we moved here, it's grown like crazy. And there's people who are like, oh, I don't want change. And there's people like, let's have change. Let's keep it going. And I said, well, I want to be that person in the middle. Is like, let's not have too much change, but let's bring positive changes in the town. And if I'm just doing more of the arts, then that's fine. If that's my part. So I was accepted in with a few others, and the three of us are actually all new to Parker. I think two of us are new to Colorado in general, and have a lot of ideas and excitement coming into it. So what we really do is we are like, let's just say, the middleman between the town of Parker and the Parker Arts Center. So
Okay.
we're like the shows and the art showcases and kids activities. So we put on free events for families throughout the year. So we just had the Honeybee Festival with the Parker Farmers Market. We did a Parker scavenger hunt. Yeah, and we have some other things coming up. I was just voted in as the diversity and inclusion committee chair, because they had there was some pushback, about, having the diversity and speaking up about Black Lives Matter. And this is coming from the town, not from our board. It was from the town and our members from the town, I should say. And I immediately said, I want that. I want to be that person, because I have great connections, you know, in Aurora, if I'm already doing these events, we can bring a lot of that here, and bring those connections here. So it's like people love to perform, they love to show their art, they love to educate. I said, it doesn't matter where they are, and they'll come. And I think one thing I love about Parker Arts is that they are so big about bringing that here. They're so big about making sure, and I think people don't really understand that, is that they actually are really big about making sure they're keeping everyone included. You know, we actually celebrated, we had a family free day with, for Black History Month, and we had Black artists, and they had their art showcase, and they got to talk about it, and performers, and it was beautiful to see. And it was beautiful to see people walking in and just interested to see it. And, you know, obviously all the other cultures we can't really celebrate in other holidays this year because of COVID, you know, things are kind of getting canceled and whatnot. But I'm excited for 2021. If hoping that COVID kind of slows down some, you know, I think Parker is going to get so much more coming to the arts with the commission that we have right now, and the Parker Arts team. They're all beautiful people, and they all have a great understanding of, like, we're here to show, you know, the arts.
I do want to talk about the arts, the commission arts, the arts commission, the culture commission,
Yeah.
with the art and the team that you have. But I want to back up for a second, and
Yeah,
I want to ask you, so they asked you to put together, is it a diversity training?
So
Or
it's
like
a
an inclusion
diversity and inclusion committee. So we have different committees within. We have like a program committee for like the programs for the kids and adults to attend. We have adult lecture committee. We have the Honeybee Festival committee. We have the history committee.
Uh-huh.
So now we have a new committee, which is diversity and inclusion. And that is, again, finding ways to include, you know, I just saw the numbers again yesterday of how many, you know, our demographics pretty much. And it has become a lot more diverse even since we've moved here. So it's kind of like, how do we keep people here in Parker? How do we keep them to come see the shows here, the art here, the history here, to eat here, to shop here? It all kinds of goes, it really all goes together. How do we keep everyone here to not go outside? Don't get me wrong, I want you to come to Aurora because that's where I do a lot of my things, but if we live here and there's things to do, of course, how do we stay here and not have to drive all the way up to Denver? And it's about making sure that we are catering to everyone in this town, not just to one or two or three. It's like, no, whoever you are, we're going to make sure that you're here. And I think once we build a committee and have more going on, it's very fresh. I think it's like a week old, but once it becomes bigger, I think that it's going to be a beautiful thing. And again, Parker, again, it's a gorgeous place to live. It has a lot to offer. It is becoming more diverse. More people are moving here, and you have to accommodate to that. And that's what's going to be happening soon. And I'm super excited.
That's really awesome. You know, even though it's a week old, every project, every committee, every group has to start somewhere, right? And I don't think it matters how old it is, but the fact that, you know, someone said that this is important to our town, and we want to make sure that we are including not only the people that are here, but that we have things that represent who they are, their cultures, their, you know, their races, and allowing that to, you know, if you want to keep people inside your town and you want them to feel safe and included, then you also have to include the things that represent who they are to make them feel good about staying there. So that is wonderful.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the art, because I really, this idea of prioritizing culturally diverse art is such a beautiful thing. I know that, like, there's a lot of art here around Denver.
Yes.
I know that, like, not necessarily culturally diverse, but, you know, they have the crushed babe, or they have the crushed walls, and then they did the Babes mural event in Thornton. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, and I feel bad about that, but I thought it was great. It was all female artists, and they all did big murals, crushed walls, down in I believe it's Rhino. All of the art that's there, there's so much, like, culturally beautifully expressed art down there from many different cultures. I love walking around down there and just, like, seeing the big murals, seeing the alleyways and everything like that. So when it comes to Parker, what ideas do you have about including art that is culturally diverse?
So just a little bit about, like, when I think about art, I do think about the murals. I think about paintings. I think about pictures. I think about music, food, everything. And we kind of discuss briefly of like ideas of what we want to have, and maybe have like, you know, not really mock Aurora because they have a global fest, but something similar where we're kind of bringing everyone in and having, you know, all the artists, you know, down the streets or a main street, or I think it would be beautiful. I don't know if it can, but to have some murals. I think that is just something about murals, like lately, like you said, living in like in this area and like living in Denver is just beautiful. And to me, just some way like throughout, 'cause obviously a lot of for arts has slowed down for us and for others in Colorado and the United States due to COVID, you know? So there's not like a lot that we can do right now. But let's just think in a magical world when COVID didn't happen, right? What can we do that makes everyone feel like, wow? And I think having someone come in from each culture or each background and expressing themselves with paint all around the town or somewhere, or maybe putting a painting in each restaurant or something to really look at and just kind of try to understand their story. And I love that part of like going up to the painting or the photograph and like looking like, what's the story behind this? I never judge anyone's art. I feel like there could be pain in there can be happiness. You don't know what it is, and you want to learn like what happened, why is this painting here? And I think sometimes, like how I was saying, I'm a big communicator. Like I want to communicate to you and explain why. I think some people have a better way of explaining through their art. And if we can have more of that, just everywhere and anywhere, you know, obviously in Parker, but just any and everywhere, just having that like why and how and seeing that story, and maybe that's how people learn. I know I've learned a lot through art. It's just, gosh, I'm like, now I want to go to like an art museum. Now we're talking about like a story.
You know, the one thing that I really love about murals, I feel like, you know, I studied art in high school and pre-high school and early on in college, and we did a lot of like gallery internships and volunteering and things like that when I was younger. The one thing that I realized about art galleries is that they tend to be less accessible to everyone, right? Like, and not to say that they are exclusive, but I would say that there's a certain kind of person with a certain kind of experience who enjoys going to an art gallery or an art opening or an art something or other in this like very inclusive place.
Yeah.
And what I really love about murals is that you don't actually have to go, you don't have to make like this intentional trip to go to a gallery to see a show by an artist or something, right? You can walk by, you can take 30 seconds to admire it. It can inspire you. It can touch you. It really can change the energy and the feeling in whatever neighborhood you're in. You know, like it really in itself is an inclusion piece to any community compared to going to a show or going to a gallery or even going to a museum, you know, now that museums charge you to go in and look at all the art, you know, and granted it's for good reason. But I just always love the fact that like art on the outside of buildings, sculptures and murals and things like that, where you can walk by and just really appreciate it, is in its definition like inclusion and accessibility.
Definitely is. Yeah. I love that.
So this is also beautiful, and I like, you're such a glowing woman. Like the photos that you sent me for your promo, and like I was just looking at you and I'm like, she radiates confidence. You got it going on, and I'm so grateful that you sat to chat with us. I would just want to ask you as we're wrapping up here, like what is it, do you have any like activities or things that you do to like keep your morale up, to keep your head in the right place, to keep your confidence boosted and shining like it is right now?
Yeah. I think what it is, you know, I'm a very social person. So it's all about meeting someone else. And I always think about, I might have something going on, right? You know, you never know. People are always going through something. But I'm always thinking someone else is going through something worse. But how can I make someone else's day? So when I walk up my door, it's more of like, whatever is going on, you leave it alone. You walk up that door with your heels on, with confidence, and you make someone's day. You change someone's life. And I think that's how I do it. It's just that I know that being a commissioner here in Parker, being an advocate for the restaurants and the businesses, and then working in Aurora and being that, that center with my team to really provide these resources, provide these events, at no cost. Being that person to change someone's life, change someone's day, provide something that they've been, praying for, hoping for, and you helped them. That is what keeps me going.
So
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's what it's all about.
isn't it interesting how much of ourselves can be really built up in that confidence just by engaging and exchanging with somebody else? Doesn't matter, I've had this experience with so many different kinds of people on so many different energetic wavelengths or moods or attitudes, and just having a simple connection with them can really keep your energy high, keep you glowing. So that's such a beautiful reflection, and I love it. Beautiful. Well, I want to thank you so much for sitting down with me today. It was really special to have you. And now that we're in Colorado, I'm not near Parker, but at least we can be friends.
Yes.
Maybe I'll make my way down there for one of your cultural events, because it just sounds so beautiful to me. And I love art in all of its forms, and I think that it's such a beautiful gift to be able to give a community that once was kind of homogenous in its race and its cultures, and be able to introduce it to not one, but all these different types of cultures and their art. So I'll make my way down to see it. I want to thank everybody who joined us live on Facebook today. Thank you so much. Mariah, she said, you're a beacon of light in everybody's life.
Awesome.
Such a strong and beautiful woman.
She's awesome. She's my best friend from Albuquerque.
Oh.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, thank you, Bestie, for joining us on Facebook. We will, so our fourth episode next week on Wednesday is going to be with Courtney, and we are going to be talking about health disparities in the Black community and how important it is for us to have a representation of healthy Black people. So I hope all of you on Facebook will join us live next week for that interview, and we will see you then.
Bye.